In this order, where did you grow up? Where did you go to college? And what inspired you, and or what age did you want to become a teacher, or at least associated with education?
Yeah, you bet. So I grew up in a small town in southwest Washington called Longview. So Longview is probably about 45 minutes north of here in Vancouver. And small town, only two high schools. I ended up, when I graduated from, I went to R.A. Long High School, is the name of my high school growing up. When I graduated R.A. Long, I went to Western Washington University in Bellingham, Washington, and kind of spent the first couple of years trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do, and was also acclimating to being away from home for the first time ever. And I always have been drawn to reading and writing. I've always been a big reader and writer, something I enjoyed quite a bit in high school. So I got my Bachelor of Arts in English Literature, and then graduated. And when I graduated, probably the question that I got the most when I was in a college, when I would tell somebody what my major was, oh, you're going to be a teacher. And I said, no, that does not mean that I'm going to be a teacher. And I kind of fought it because I wasn't against it, but I just didn't like it that somebody was just like, oh, so it means you're going to be a teacher when you have an English degree. And so I would always push back and say, no, that's not what that means. So I graduated and didn't know what I was going to do at all. So I actually moved back home and had to find a job. And it was a tough time to get a job at the time. The economy was not bustling by any means necessary. So the job that I landed was with a company called SL Start. And I was a community access specialist, which was, my role was, we were a company that worked with developmentally disabled adults, anybody 18 years of age or older. And as a community access specialist, I would go with them into the community and do some kind of adult basic education, life skills type training, going to the grocery store, going to the bank, learning how to balance a checkbook, paperwork. I did some worksite learning if they had a job where they needed the support of an adult to help them kind of learn the basic functions of the job. And one of the things that we did on a regular basis was we would take them to the community college, our clients to the community college, and do an adult basic education class. So they were no longer in high school, but still needed some just basic communication skills, written skills, verbal skills, some basic math. And I loved it. I kind of fell in love with the education part of it. And I think the first thing that kind of stuck out to me when I realized that was all the times that someone had said, hey, are you going to be a teacher? And so I sort of acquiesced and looked into some education programs at the time, or still currently. WSU Vancouver was relatively new. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years old at the time, maybe older. And they had a program where you can earn your teaching credentials and get your master's degree at the same time. So I earned my master's degree in teaching from WSU Vancouver, go Cougs, and did my student teaching experience. And then from there was hired in Evergreen to teach middle school English. Yeah. And then what was the last part of that? That was it, right? Did I answer that question in its entirety?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorry, a little wordy.
Oh no! Like the more, in fact, the more details and the more you say, the better material I have to work with.
Okay, gotcha.
What was the process in you becoming a principal? Like what circumstances happened prior to you becoming a principal? Here, I mean.
So like I said, I was at Pacific Middle School is where I was teaching prior, and while at Pacific, as a teacher, if you ask any of your teachers, they're constantly trying to improve in their practice and figure out how to better connect with kids and better support students, and things are changing all the time. The standards in which you teach are sort of changing. Sort of some of the concepts and philosophy and best practice and how to work with students is always changing, and so I really enjoyed that. But it's challenging because while that is all changing, you have 150 kids coming to each day, and your job is to make sure that they meet whatever goals that you've set forth for them. but I enjoyed that aspect of the things that were changing, and I was part of a department and a smaller team that I worked with pretty regularly, and I found that I really enjoyed trying to help facilitate some of those changes within the group. My principal at the time took notice of that and had kind of floated out the idea of, have you thought about going into administration and becoming a principal one day your own, on your own one day, and thought about it a little bit, thought it was an interesting opportunity, and from that point I was given some more opportunities to take on leadership roles just within the school that I was at, and enjoyed it. I found that, I think one of the big transitions is, you're mostly working with students on a regular basis, and then I was working more with some of the adults in the building, and that just presents a whole different set of challenges that I really enjoyed. So kind of under the guidance of my principal at the time, I asked a lot of questions about what her job was like, and I started to look at her job a little bit differently than maybe I had realized prior, where it was just, well, that's my principal and that's who I go to if I really need some support with something. And so she was great, served as a great mentor for me, and after having that experience for a couple of years, I decided to enroll in a program again at WSU Vancouver to get my principal credentials in their admin program. So I did that. It took about 3 years, and that included an internship year. And I had the opportunity during the internship year to step in for one of the administrators in my building who was out for medical leave. And so I had a more detailed experience of kind of the day-to-day operations. Really enjoyed it, and I think it really prepared me to take on an administrative role. And so after that year, I was actually hired over at Frontier Middle School as an associate principal. And I was there for 3 years as associate principal, and then 3 years as the building principal until last year, in which I made the transition here to Union.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, for this next question, I was gonna say, how easy and or hard, you can be honest, was it to transition from your previous job to being a principal of Union High School? How difficult or easy was the transition?
There's nothing easy about it. I think any transition is difficult. I think one of the biggest challenges for me was just kind of the size of the school. So I went from a school of about 850 students to a school of over 2,000 students. So that's a pretty significant increase. Another challenge is that, Union's not that old. I mean, this is, I think, year 13 that Union's been open. So they've had one other principal in that time, Mr. Grimstead. And, in many schools, there's been kind of a series of administrators over time. And so for some staff, the fact that a new principal comes in isn't that big of an adjustment. But I think here at Union, there'd been one other principal. Yeah, that was a big adjustment. So taking the time to get to know the staff and kind of understand the history of the building, the culture of the building, what an experience is like for a student at Union. There's no manual for that. You just have to sort of go out and experience it, have conversations, listen. And so that's been, it's a good challenge. It's just something that takes time. And, you also have to work within people's schedules. I mean, staff here are very busy all the time. So one of the first things that I did is I met with each staff member and just kind of spent a little bit of time with them trying to put a face to a name. At my previous school, I knew everybody and knew a little bit about them, but it was also more than half the size of this school. So it was a little bit easier to do then.
Yeah.
Nothing's easy about the transition, but what's been helpful with the transition is that both of the schools that I worked at previously fed into Union. So as soon as I got here, there were a lot of students that I already knew. And it was great to see some familiar faces. Yeah, kind of makes it feel a little bit more like home.
Yeah. That sense of familiarity?
Yeah. And, I'm always somewhat familiar with the school just because, like I said, when I taught, we also fed into Union. I remember when the school just opened. There were some staff here that I already knew and had some connections with, so that was helpful as well. So, yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, So far, how has it? How has your progress been in like matching names to faces? Are you good at it?
I feel like I'm pretty good. I feel like I've done a pretty good job. Every time I see somebody, I try to say their name, which will probably, as soon as they read that, they're probably going to say, if he doesn't say my name, he probably doesn't know my name, which may or may not be true. But I do. I have I actually have a kind of a printout from the yearbook before the yearbook was actually published that had all the staff pictures. So I used that quite a bit during my first few weeks. Okay, who's that individual again? Okay, that's so and so. But actually, the best way to do it is just to be out and about and just kind of go and greet people. And I'll use their, initially I would look at the outside of their door. A lot of them had their name placards outside of the door, so I'd pop in and say, "Oh, hey, so So, but I feel like by and large at this point, I feel confident. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right. Another personal one. What do you like to do on your free time? Like when you are not at Union, because nobody works 24 hours a day. What do you like to do in your free time, or hobbies, or fun questions? I'd like to call them.
I love playing golf. It's one of my hobbies. I don't have a lot of time to do it any longer. And I love sports, whether it's watching sports or just participating in sports. I'm a big Portland Trailblazer fan. Despite a pretty rough season this year, I'm still hanging in there. And finally, and probably first and foremost would be my family. So I have a second grader, 8-year-old daughter. I have a kindergartner, my son who's 6, and then another thing that made the transition a little bit more challenging this year is about a month into school we had a baby. So I have a 10-week-old at home right now, a daughter. So yeah, busy with family, but it's good busy. Getting to know them. Getting to spend time with them is what I meant, I should say. And so my kids are involved in a lot of activities. And so one of the nice things about Union, it's a very family kind of friendly environment. So like I said, I went to the play last week and was able to take my daughter. She loves going to those. And so you can kind of have a work-life blend a little bit when your kids can be a part of some of those things.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to. You can just skip it. But these are short, fun questions that we have. Okay, what is your favorite movie? Go.
Oh, Field of Dreams.
Okay. Favorite food? You gotta ask that for basically everyone that you meet.
I'm gonna go chicken.
Okay. Do you have a favorite book or novel? Because I heard that you like to read.
Yeah. Oh boy. Let me think about this. Let's see. I love Into the Wild. A book that I really liked that in college is The Sun Also Rises. I've got a lot of favorite books. A great book is The Kite Runner is a great book. I love The Kite Runner. I could go on about books. I mean, there's lots of great ones, but those are a few that kind of stand out.
Okay. Yeah. And the last one is, other than English and or reading, what would you say is your favorite subject at school? And it can be any subject, whether that be primarily an elective or a core class. Just what is your favorite subject other than English? Just one that you find the most intriguing or interesting.
Yeah. Gosh, it's tough for me to say. So for my own experience, I think it just kind of depended sometimes on the teacher.
That actually is true.
Yeah, like there were some subjects that I didn't think I liked until I found the right teacher, and then all of a sudden it just was the most important thing in the world to me because, a teacher just has the capability of just making anything interesting. Yeah. So, I liked art. I loved biology. So those are a couple that stood out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. So moving on. All right. What would you say? This is going to be the opening for our business questions. What are your overall goals as a principal? Like the moment you stepped into Union High School, day one. In your head, what was your goal?
Yeah. Well, the two things that I told the staff that were my goals just initially during that transition were to be connected and committed. And the connected piece was something like I mentioned earlier is that, one of my goals is to help hopefully by the end of the year to feel like very connected to the building and to the staff and get to know everybody and understand what matters to the staff here at the building, understand what matters to students here at the building. I think that's just, for me, it's really important to have that information in order to create really meaningful goals for the school. But I would just say that in general, I feel like one of my jobs is to ensure that every student at this school feels connected and supported to the school like it's their school, and that we work to ensure that our students have opportunities to be successful, because kind of like that last question you'd asked about what's your other favorite subject. There's no perfect answer to that question. We have 2,000 students here, more than 2,000 students, so that means we have more than 2,000 personalities that we have to try to tend to.
Different opinions.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, it's very important. So I think Union does a great job with that. And if you look at, we have over 60 clubs and extracurricular opportunities for students, and I think this is something that I think I spent a lot of time with Mr. Grimstead before he departed and I came on, and one of the things that he and I were both big on is that if students feel connected to this school, if they feel like if there's something that's bringing them to this school every single day, then we're halfway there, because then we have the opportunity to have their attention and they're engaged and they want to be a part of this Titan community, and we can expose them to the things that they need in order to be successful.
So far, what are your favorite things about Union? Like, because you've had some time to be surrounded by the Union community and the environment. What is your favorite aspect? Favorite aspect of?
Yeah, I love the energy of the school. I love that students love being Titans, and I love that staff love being Titans. And I think as a principal, you always hope for that. And so one of the first things that I felt when I came to this school is that both students and staff felt like this is their school, and they're proud to be Titans, and they're excited to be here, and I think that's amazing. So that's one of the things that I really value. The other thing that I value is that there are, like I said earlier, there are a number of things that students can be a part of here. Most of those clubs are student-led and student-driven, and they're accomplishing a lot of great things. So, there's not just, I was in high school. You could be involved in athletics. You could be involved, in the performing arts, whether it was music or something like that. And we had a few clubs. We had our ASB and student council, and there were a couple. I think we had Key Club and a few other things. I feel like Union does an exceptional job of really just attending to a wide range of interests that students have.
That's good, because okay, and then I'll also kind of say something just to kind of end us off, is that I will have to say as well that despite the fact that teams like, oh, I don't need adult supervision or whatever, and again, not stereotyping, but just what you generally see, I will admit that what adults say, and to an extent now what seniors say and do, definitely does impact the school as a whole, because then you're teaching the not lower classmen, because that's kind of mean, but like I'm a sophomore.
You're setting the tone, right?
But yeah, you set up what they will become, or what they think that they are supposed to become, and it's not just for one particular clique in school. It can be for anything, anything that you do. The people that came before you impact you in some sort of way. Sometimes it can be, let's not do what they did, but generally you kind of want it to be, let's follow through with what he said. But at the same time, I think what seniors should really focus on telling younger high school teenagers is, despite the fact that maybe some of the more positive things that person has said or done is good, they should take what they did, if they value it in their hearts, what they said, they should value it in their hearts and move forward with it, but they should also try to apply it in a way that's unique to them. Maybe there's, for example, say there's a senior that's a really big political activist and really wants to make young teens more open about that. And the way she does it is very much her own, unique. And maybe she took inspiration from other people, but she's doing it her own unique way. I think what she or he should say to, say, a freshman or sophomore would be, if you value what I say and do, then have that, but make it your own. You know, voice your opinion, because we're all different. Over 2,000 students, you said, so over 2,000 personalities and types of people. So they should find a way to use that voice, and in other cases, use those talents and capabilities that they have, and make it unique in their own way. Because the more unique that we create this school and this community, I'd say the better off we will be as a school, and overall the better the teens will be when they move forward in society as young adults.
I don't think I could say it better myself. I think I agree with you 100%. So, well, thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you.